Welcome into the latest episode of Mac and Mose. Andy McNamara, joined by the editor-in-chief of GoDucks.com, Rob Mosley. We are here to preview the 120th Civil War between the Oregon Ducks and the Oregon State Beavers. Now, in recent years, this game has had a lot on the line. We've had the Civil War for the Roses, the Ducks, needing to clinch the Pac-12 North. It's had some great storylines.
Go to a national championship game.
Yeah, that was kind of a big deal. So this year's a little bit different. Both teams are down this season. The Beavers have 3 wins coming into this one. The Ducks have 4. Oregon has had the Oregon State's number in this series, 8 straight wins. A win on Saturday would be the longest winning streak for either side in the history of this rivalry. So a lot on the line from that standpoint, and we'll really have to see how both of these teams kind of go into this game coming off of what has been a rare win in a season with not too many wins for either side.
That's my number one question, is who's going to hit the field wanting to win more and care more about this game. Because, there's no bowl bids on the line. I mean, the Ducks can get to 5-7 and be in the mix, but they need about 42 different things to fall their way to make it into a bowl game. With all the other teams that have better APR scores that could be 5-7, much less the 6-6 and other bowl eligible teams. So, nobody's really playing for a bowl bid. But they're both probably feeling okay after winning, and so don't have that, hey, here's our last chance to gain some positive vibes going into the off season. And so somebody's going to summon the will. Somebody's going to summon the motivation. And it's just going to be really interesting to see. By the end of the first quarter, we'll probably have a better sense. Hey, who really wants to be there to win a football game, and who's looking a little more forward to December and January and kind of hitting reboot and going into next year.
This will be the 12th game for both of these teams. The interesting thing about that to me is normally at this point of the season, you would have a pretty good idea scouting the opponent.
Yep.
I don't think either of these teams have all that great of an idea of what they're going to see on the other side, just because of the injuries involved. With Oregon State, they've had quarterback issues. McMarion started last week, had an incredible game against Arizona. Is that who he is, or is he the player weeks before that seemed to struggle at that position? On Oregon's side defensively, no Rex Manu in this one, so pretty much down, out of tackles, out of first-string defensive tackles.
There's not a single guy, even Drayton. Let's say Drayton Carlbrook, who's been out, say he's able to work his way back somehow. There still wouldn't be a single defensive tackle who had played a snap at the position for Oregon before this year. Between Elijah George, who was a veteran guy but was an offensive lineman, Gary Baker, redshirt freshman, Wayne Tay Kirby, true freshman, Drayton Carlbrook coming off his redshirt freshman year. So they're down to guys who had 0 experience coming into the year. It truly is amazing where things have gotten at that position over the course of the season.
Yeah, when things started, Elijah George was probably on the bubble to be in the 2 deep when the season started. He certainly was in the top 6, but now he's kind of the guy who's left.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, he was an offensive lineman before this season. So that'll be something to watch. Oregon had Jalen Jelks playing inside at points against Utah. Henry Mondu moving inside and utilizing Justin Hollins and TJ Daniel in different ways as well. Mark Helfrich alluded to yesterday, maybe switching some guys around a little bit didn't offer much more than that. So we probably won't know until the game actually starts.
It's a tough challenge for those guys too, because the way they incorporate the fly sweep and are kind of like a triple option offense. There's a lot. You really got to be disciplined in your assignments, and they've worked really hard to get the scout team to do some things this week to really disguise who's got the ball, so that guys can't just overcommit to who they think has the ball, get caught guessing, and then lose track of things. They really try to make sure guys are just stick to their assignment and don't go puck watching, as hockey fans would say. Both of us being hockey fans. So we'll see if that pays dividends. I think they did some of the similar stuff against Utah, and it paid dividends. But again, with the fly sweep and this option game the Beavers use, guys really have to be disciplined. And so when it is kind of a skeleton crew and guys are being moved around, you don't want to overwhelm them, in my opinion, with too much different assignments. So they're really gonna have to hope that guys are locked down and really built some momentum off that Utah game and really have some confidence in what they're doing when they hit the field Saturday.
And looking through Oregon's game-by-game results, or Oregon State rather, it's not like they've been just crushed in every single game. And they have some pieces on offense. Ryan Nall, the running back, who really sort of had his coming out at the position in last year's Civil War against the Ducks, where he nearly single-handedly brought them back into the game. They're down Seth Collins. He will not play in this one, so that's definitely a blow to them. But they still have Victor Bolden. They have athletic guys on offense that can cause problems, especially if Oregon is uncertain of who has the ball on any given play.
The question to me is which McMarion does show up, because if the guy who he was against Arizona shows up again Saturday and they can be that multiple on offense, I feel like I talk about this every week. I mean, that really causes you problems. What you'd like to do is see the Beaver passing offense that had been relatively inconsistent most of the year and load up and try to stop Nall. That's kind of what we were talking about, though, going into the Stanford game, and then Christ had a great game throwing the ball that really opened things up and really hurt the Oregon's defensive effort. So, can McMarion go in and complete a couple early balls, get some confidence, and really open things up for them? Or can the Ducks maybe turn him over once or twice early, or at least disrupt their passing attack enough that they can really then focus on Nall and not let him beat you?
You mentioned at the outset, who's going to want this game more. This could be the last game in an Oregon uniform for several players, but in particular, Royce Freeman. He's 161 yards away from 1,000. If he gets there, he would be just the second player in Oregon history to have 3,000-yard rushing seasons, joining LaMichael James. And that is definitely not his sole motivation in this. But watching Royce run at the end of the Utah game and the second effort and the third effort and just how hard he was playing, I just don't see him as a guy who's going to go out in this particular game without putting it all on the line.
No, I agree. And it is one last chance to appreciate how good he's been. He's been banged up, so we haven't gotten to see the peak Royce Freeman at times throughout this season. So if it was so fun to watch him return to that level at times in that Utah game, and so one more chance to see him. It's like you sit back and you really want to take that in too, and look kind of the big picture that, hey, this is a special player who had a special career, and this might be the last time to watch him. But he could have a huge impact on this game that looks like kind of a coin flip going in. And then the other guy, in terms of motivation, would be Justin Herbert, a guy who grew up an Oregon fan, invested in this rivalry from birth. What kind of emotions is he going to have?
Yeah, Justin Herbert, this will be his final game. This will be his 7th start, and he's finally, once this game goes live, if you will, he'll finally qualify for some of the various leaderboards in the Pac-12, and just a tremendous start by him. He'll try to build on that big game last week against a really good Utah defense, and we'll see. It's going to be raining. It's going to be in the 40s. It's going to be the Civil War. It's going to be kind of miserable, I think, on the field, but other than that, it should be another great test for each of these teams. And at the end of the day, there's going to be one team that's really, really happy and one team that is absolutely crushed.
This is going to stick with him when you hit the weight room in January and when you finally make it back to the practice field. I mean, if you walk off the field with a loss in the Civil War and that's it, Ducks haven't had to deal with those circumstances in a long, long time. So, you'd like to think that everybody's going to be really raring to go come Saturday. And I think Herbert is the guy to lead you in that situation too. I think he showed at the end of that Utah game how cool under fire he is. Talking to him afterward, I asked, did your pulse ever really quicken in those last couple minutes at Utah? And he said, yeah, while they were on the sideline waiting for the replay review. And I said, but not when you're in the field. And he said, no, not until we got to the sideline. And so that's just so revealing that when he's on the field and he can control what's going on, he's totally calm and collected and cool. I mean, that's what it looks like, but that's his perception as well. It's not till things are sort of out of his hands that nerves build. So there's going to be a lot that is in his hands, a lot that it will be in his control Saturday. And he just seems like a guy who's built to handle situations like this. He's proven it a little bit. This will be just another test of that Saturday in the Civil War.
The last game of the season for the Ducks. It won't be the last Mac and Mose, though, because we have to be back next week to wrap this thing up. Hopefully we have some good highlights to pass along. Until then, if you have questions for us, you can get to us on Twitter. I'm at McNamaraUO. He is at Duck Football. We'll see you.